All right, we were successful. So the emulator has booted up. Got all this fancy stuff that I haven't actually seen. This is a newer version of Android than my phone. Oh, maybe I shouldn't start that up. Okay, cool. So let me try to reconfigure the the stream here. Let's see if I can add another window capture. And let's see, that's called Android Emulator. There we go. All right. And let's get rid of this and stick this over here. And turn this off for now. There we go. All right, then I can stick this down here. Whoa, uh-oh. Okay, one more try. And shrink this down some more. Stick that there, pull it up. Okay, cool. So we have our emulator. So now let's see if we can run this app in it. So I'm just going to hit this play again and see what happens. Looks like maybe nothing. Let's see. I'm going to try closing Android Studio. Oh wait, is anything? Okay, it's all locked up. I'm going to try closing Android Studio momentarily and starting it up again. And all right, open the project again. Dismiss our tip of the day. All right, so now let's try this one more time. Clicking run. Okay. And I'm going to check this to use the same device for future launches. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we're getting this error. Get plugin generation. The version of the Gradle you connect to doesn't support this. Great. So it seems like that message that it prompted us with earlier to upgrade the Gradle version of the project, or the version of the Android plugin in the Gradle project, seems like we actually needed to do that. So how can we get that back? What we want to find is the build.gradle. I'm not sure which one. There's two of them. Okay, for the build tools version, and we need, or no, not that. We want to find this, I think. Oh, here we go. It even has a quick fix. A newer version is available. Okay, I'm going to use Alt-Enter and upgrade that, and then sync the project. And let's see. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure why it can't even run the app with an older version of Gradle, but we will trust their upgrade here. And meanwhile, okay, so I can leave that running down here. Now, minimum supported Gradle version needs to be upgraded. Oh, this is a fun time. Okay, so that, I think, is in the Gradle wrapper properties? Fix Gradle wrapper. I guess it'll just do it for us. Okay, so what did it actually change? Okay, yeah, it changed this Gradle version in the Gradle wrapper properties. So Gradle wrapper is a bash script which will read this properties file and then download the correct version of Gradle, which is a Java program, and then run it from the command line. So we're getting to see all kinds of fun internals of Android projects today. Okay, so while that's still syncing our files for the third time, let's go back in here to which file were we about to look at? We were going to look at, we were looking in playlist fragment, and we found this function we want to look to. So I'm actually going to go to playlist fragment, and from Android Studio, we can just navigate by clicking into this function. So let's go to playlist fragment. And here's the on button tap function we were looking at. And here we determined is where it should go if we click the play button on an episode that is not currently playing and that has finished downloading. So I should be able to go, okay, I'm just holding the command key, or the option, the command key on the Mac. I'm clicking this, and it'll take us right there. So now we're inside a player service. And this starts playback of episode ID regardless of previous state. Okay, if this is the first playback, it'll be switched to foreground mode with a notification. Okay, I think that's irrelevant to what we're doing. So we're passing the ID of an episode. There's the audio manager, which is an Android system service. It's requesting audio focus. Okay. Then the content resolver is what it'll use to get the content of the file. Init player, I assume we don't need to look in there. Then storage preferences, new file. Okay, so here is where it's looking for the podcast directory. And then, apparently it just stores the podcasts in files with names that match the ID. So we should have whatever the ID is in this folder. Great. So I'm going to click into here, and the get podcast directory is the app files directory plus the podcast directory constant. Nope, I don't want that. Oh, interesting. This is apparently part of Android, this podcast's directory constant. That's interesting. And then this app files directory is, it's not, oh, it gets passed in. Interesting. So we just saw where this was created. Okay, let me accept that. Okay, I'm just backing up with Command Option Left to go back in my cursor history. So the get storage, okay, so wherever we get the storage from, that's where the directory is determined. And this storage is created where? Storage.cleanup, let's see. Storage creates subdirectories here. Okay. So we get the primary storage. This is complicated setup. I'm going to abort on digging into this code and instead just go back to trying to run the app, and we can set a breakpoint there and see what the path actually is. All right. So now that we've upgraded Gradle and all this stuff, hopefully we can now run the app. Let's see. So I click the play button up here, and Gradle is building, and it's printed some stuff here. So hopefully that'll work in a second here, and we should see it pop up in the emulator. Then, okay, so while that's happening, let's continue reading what happens here. So we're trying to play a file. We're going to use the ID of the episode as the file name, and then look it up in the folder which we're about to find out hopefully where it is. Then if it exists, if storage is available, read. See what that does. This is getting the state of what? That's down here. Okay, it works different ways on different versions of Android, but it's just calling some Android SDK functions to get the storage state. And then if it is mounted read-only, or if it's mounted, or if it's unknown state, then that means it's available. Interesting. What are the other choices here? There's bad removal, checking, ejected, mounting, mounted read-only, no file system, removed, shared, unknown, unmountable, and unmounted. Okay. So unknown, mounted, and mounted read-only are the three that mean it can be read. Cool. And it looks like it started up after 2 minutes of building. Hopefully it'll build faster next time. Okay. So we've got this. And let's see if we can download a podcast in here. So I'm going to go here. I'll just use their database and see what podcasts are in here. I guess that's kind of slow. I don't know if I can copy and paste into the emulator, which is why I was hesitant to just find one and paste it in there. Actually, why don't we try the Dumbtown podcast and see if we can download that. Let's see, there's the podcast feed. So let's try adding this. Can I paste somehow? Okay, unfortunately I don't see how to paste into the emulator. Alright, so let's just choose something from here. I don't recognize any of these. 100 watts and a wire. Let's try that. Alright, we'll subscribe to that. Hopefully it's a good one. And then we go to new episodes. And click that to add it to the playlist. And now, I'm not sure why it's showing the spinner there. I guess it started downloading automatically for some reason. Okay. I'm just going to add a second one in here for the moment. Interesting. Let's see, is there anything about Elm in here? From the deep? Okay, let's try that one too. Oh, that one failed. Alright. And then we can look in the notification. One failed to load. Okay, that's fine. Interesting. I'm not sure if this is downloading or what. Usually it switches to showing a progress, like a determinate progress bar. So let's see, I'm going to remove that one that didn't work. Let's search for something like 99% invisible. There we go. Let's add that one. And then let's dig into here. Oh, it's still loading the feed. Okay, and then we can click in here and add a bunch of these to the playlist. Then, okay, that looks better. Okay, so I'm going to click download on a couple of these. And we should see it download. And while that's happening, let's go back to Android Studio and let's go set a breakpoint in this onButtonTap function. And let's see, how do I connect the debugger? I think we have to kill the app and restart it in debug mode. So let's try that. Yep. There we go. Okay. Alright, so here's the log. And the debugger should be attached now. So if we hit one of these buttons, cool, we get the breakpoint here. So we just click this episode, Project CyberSyn. So let's see what we've got here. We have the ID, which is 580591894. I'm not sure how they chose that ID. The title, Project CyberSyn. Okay, the state is 2, whatever that means. The URL is, this is the HTTP URL that it needs to download. And download it. It's not showing me the value there. Interesting. Well, I'm going to step to the next line and click wait down here. Okay, so one of these is step over. There we go. Okay, so that one's not downloaded. And yeah, it's weird that it's not showing the value of downloaded. It must have been optimized out by the compiler somehow or something. So I would expect it at least to show down here as a local variable. In any case, apparently it's not equal to edfin complete, which is 100. Okay. I'm forgetting all my keystrokes for this. One of these should be evaluate expression. Here we go. So can I print out what downloaded is? No. Weird. Okay. Well, the compiler must have optimized that away for some reason. All right. And then the shortcut for this was F8. Okay. So it's going to send that message. Great. Okay. So what we want to do is debug when one of these things is complete. So I'm going to hit continue on the debugger and then let this continue. But what's interesting is it doesn't seem to be downloading anything here. So it seems like we may have hit another problem with the emulator somehow. So there's this toolbar next to the emulator, which you can't see in my screen captures. And I clicked settings button on it, and it popped up this window. So I'm going to check through here and see if there's anything related to network. Cellular. I think these things just set flags for display of the status bar and don't have any effect on the actual network. Battery. Oh yeah, we can like change the battery level of the phone. Fine. Phone call. Fingerprint. Virtual sensors. Settings. Okay, so none of that seems related to networking. There's also a whole bunch of little, There's a whole bunch of icons in a sidebar here. There's a power button, volume button, okay, rotating camera, magnify, and the back, home, and menu buttons. Okay, so those don't seem related to networking. I'm going to try going to the web browser in the emulator and see if that works at all. Okay, so that does seem to be working. So it looks like there's a network connection on the phone. But for some reason, the podcast app here doesn't seem to be getting any data downloaded. Though I guess it could just be these podcasts. So yeah, because I guess it did actually download the feed listings. and got the list of episodes. So maybe there's just something up with those particular podcasts. Let's just add a couple more of these random podcasts and see if we can download episodes for any of them. Let's see, what's the one about music? Song Exploder. So let's try a couple of these. A couple of those. Just a random sprinkling of podcasts. Okay, so let's try to download one of each of those too. Maybe we could actually debug in the download service too. Yeah, so I'm going to leave this breakpoint here for the future, and this download receiver is what presumably received messages whenever we started downloads. So we're kind of getting sidetracked from our original bug, but to get to the point where we can reproduce it, we need one of these downloads to succeed. Actually, maybe, I wonder if possibly the problem is that this emulator has no disk space on it. That's one thing that could be a problem. Why don't we test this out by finding something we can download? And, well, can we just maybe save this page? Or can we print to PDF? Save as PDF. Okay, let's try this. No items. What does this screen even mean? Oh, okay, we have space free on the SD card. 90 megabytes. Or on the simulated SD card. Okay, so that's not the problem. Okay, so let's see if we can set a breakpoint somewhere in the downloading process. And actually, I guess first we should check the console, or the Android Debugging Log, and see if there's any useful information in here. Oops. So what's going on? So this is recently. This is just the garbage collector running in Java. Sending playback state stopped. There was an error somewhere in the preferences or something. Read main activity. Preference changed. Current activity. Oh, just every time we change activities, it's remembering which activity we're on. So let's see. If we hit plus, go into searching, it's remembering that that is the current screen. Okay. Yeah, this does seem like a nice little app to write in Elm. Although there's not really a good solution for using Elm for mobile apps at the moment. But yeah, this would be a nice little app to try to recreate. Like, it's fairly straightforward and has a nice, clear definition of all the states, too. So before we look at the networking stuff, let's try to figure out what this error is from and if it's actually relevant to look at. And let's see, here's a warning too that just happened. Object for database was leaked. Oh, interesting. Fix your app to end transactions properly and close the database. Okay, so let's try to find where this error happens. And I feel like this message, well, maybe we can search for that message. I'm just going to search for quote read. Hey, there it is. Okay. All right, so where are we? We are in the read preference function in the preferences object. Okay. So whenever it tries to read, oh, it's just always logging this as an error. This must have been useful for some reason for debugging to someone else. So whenever we read the current activity, we just print this as an error. Okay, so that doesn't look like it's useful, like it's not a real error. They're just printing it as an error so it stands out in the console. Oh, and look, here we just got a message with 100%. So maybe something finished downloading? Nope. Okay, well, let's try to find where this message came from, and that's maybe a good place to put a breakpoint, since we know it actually happened once. Log E, okay. So this is in catalog fragment. That's probably that other screen we were on where we were adding new podcasts. Load progress. So load progress was 100%. Let's figure out where this comes from. So if I just pressed Option or Alt F7, which finds usages of the word under my cursor. Oh, this is kind of funny. They just are hard-coding a bunch of values. So what does this do? This is when it initializes the database. It's reporting progress. Oh, okay. So this is progress of reading the SQL database, not the progress of downloading a podcast file. Okay. So slowly we're getting a feel for this code base. Okay, so we haven't seen anything useful in the logs happen. I'm going to try one other thing to kind of get going while we dig into the code some more. So I'm going to bring up the running apps, and I'll kill this app. And let's see, actually, that should disconnect our debugger. Yeah, it did. Okay. So I was just going to kill the app and then restart it and see if that makes any difference in kicking off these downloads. But I'm starting to think we might not be able to make much progress on the emulator. And I don't know, I'm not sure if we can really do much with my phone on the stream. I was hoping the emulator would actually work. Actually, it was good that we got the app running, but now I'm not sure why the file downloads don't seem to be working. I guess here's the next plan in my mind of what we can debug. I want to find the point in the code where the downloads start and find where it tries to start saving the file to the SD card. And we can find out the path from that, and then we can look on the device and see if anything is partially created on the file system yet or not. And then maybe we can also see if anything else is going wrong around that area of the code. And okay, so it looks like there's nothing new in the logs from when we restarted the app. And I'm going to try one more downloading here. Okay. So, download receiver is where we left off. This is the thing that gets the message from the playlist screen whenever it needs to start downloading something new. So there should be, this broadcast receiver is a type of Android service, and there should be a function in here called onIntent, or something like that. OnReceive, yeah, here we go. So this intent is like a serializable way to send data between different processes in Android. And I had noticed that here it's building up this intent to tell the download receiver to download something. So let's set a breakpoint here. Oh, interesting. And it immediately got a breakpoint there. So let's see what's in this intent. It's a download heartbeat intent. Okay, interesting. And is there any information in here? There's extras. There's no extras. And there's, let's see, is there a URL associated with this? I don't see one. Okay. So let's step through and see what happens with this heartbeat action. So synchronized on preferences, okay. And then we switch based on the action. Okay, so we got a download heartbeat. So it wants us to update the progress. So let's step into there and see what that does. And let's see. Hopefully this font is large enough. I just realized it's might be a bit small. I don't remember the shortcut to bump it up. I think I have to go in here. Appearance. Font size. Here we go. Well, maybe. I thought it would be in here. Size. I can't change it. We're just defeated at every turn. Let me search for size. Colors and fonts. I am not sure why it doesn't let me change the font size. I have to duplicate this maybe. Large font. There you go. Okay, let's try 16. Huh, did that even change anything? That looks the same. Apply font settings. What? 16. Oh, that's the console font. Okay. Let's put that at 14, and then the main font, here we go, 16. Whoops, not 216. There we go. Okay, got it. So, update progress. We stepped into this, right? Okay. So it's going to get a cursor. This is like a pointer into a stream of SQL responses generally. And what are we looking up? We're calling the content resolver, which is essentially a wrapper for the local database. Episode URL, or episode URI. Oh, okay, this is just a constant that is being used as a place to store data. Then provider ID and EDID, okay, where the provider ID is not 0. Okay, so this seems to be getting either all the podcasts or all the episodes or all the downloads or something. So let's see what the first one is. We got a download ID of 30. The episode ID is this. And download manager. Okay, now it's going to do another query to the download manager. I bet this EDID stands for episode download ID. So this is finding all the episodes that have an associated download happening. So now we're going to do a query to the download manager. And we got a state. State equals 1. And okay, so here's where the states are. So let's see what the choices are. So pending is 1, running is 2, and successful is 8. And paused is 4, and failed is 16. Okay, so this is in state 1, which means the download is pending and not running. So that's interesting. So for some reason it didn't start the download, or maybe tried to start it and failed. So that's useful information. So let's see if it maybe will try to start one, and if not, we can maybe try to find the right place where it should have started it and debug there. Got, what does got mean? Got is 0, okay, so that's how many bytes have been downloaded. And total is -1 because we don't know how many bytes we're expecting yet for this file. So total is -1. If got is greater than 0 and total is greater than, okay, so this will be false. And total is greater than got. That's interesting. This is maybe if it's in progress. What does it do? In that case, it puts download finished to be a percentage. Okay. So if it's received more than 1,000 bytes, then it starts showing the percentage, or storing the percentage in the database, in the local database on Android, which is generally a SQLite table. And then it also sets the total episode size. Okay, cool. So we don't have any data yet, so we're going to skip that. And then we're done with that, and then it's going to go to the next download. For this episode ID, and presumably the same thing is going to happen. It's in state 1. Okay. Great. So I'm going to actually set a breakpoint here and just continue a few times and see if we get any non-1 states. And then I'm also going to set a breakpoint here so we'll get there before we exit the method. So state 1, and that was it. So there were 3 downloads pending, and they were all pending. None of them have started yet. So that's interesting. And that was the download heartbeat action. Okay, so I'm going to continue this and turn off this breakpoint for the moment. Turn off that one too. And let the app run. So we have 3 there that are pending, apparently, and the rest are all not started. Okay, so that matches up with what we saw in the code. All right, so maybe the next step is to figure out when the status gets set to pending and see why it gets set to pending and why it didn't actually get started. And actually, before we do that, I'm just going to set this breakpoint again and check and make sure these are all download heartbeats and not other kinds of messages. So those, okay, so there's a bunch of download heartbeats. Okay, it looks like that's the only type of broadcast message this service is receiving. Great. All right, so now I want to define that pending status again. Pending, and let's see if I can search for references to that. Here we go. So in the get running count, I'll set a breakpoint there and see if that ever gets called. We set the status to pending, and it fails. And I'm just realizing now that Download Manager is an Android-wide thing. It's not specific to this app. So why don't we do a quick search and see if there are known problems with the Download Manager on the emulator. Specifically with pending downloads. I don't see anything obvious. Emulator settings to be able to use Download Manager. Interesting. Okay, so here's a couple search results that might be relevant. The app is crashing whenever I'm trying on the emulator. Okay, let's see. Okay, that doesn't seem relevant. Seems like they're just handling exceptions incorrectly. And in this case, he's getting a security exception. And does it have SD card emulation set? Okay. So first, we should make sure we don't have a security exception in our console. And I didn't see anything related to that. Let's see, so here's where we started this run. Class loader, instant runtime. Let's see, I'm going to turn on word wrapping for this terminal. Could not clean up. External storage is not mounted, it says. That might be relevant. Okay. I don't see anything else notable. But it could be that our emulator is not configured properly with disk space. So I'm going to kill the emulator and close it. If I can figure out how to close it. And then we will need to find in here Android AVD Manager. That's where we configure the emulator images. And, interestingly, I can't... Oh, there. Okay, it finally died. I guess I can turn off this Elm logo for today, too. Okay, so let's check the... Oh, shoot, did I just start it again? No. Alright, so I guess while that's starting, I'll create a brand new one. We'll use the Nexus 5 again. We will use this, and then let's check the settings here. So this is for the screen settings, that's fine. This is for the Android version, okay. That's fine. Graphics, okay, device frame. Emulated settings. So there's RAM, there's heap, there's internal storage, there's an SD card of 100 megabytes. Maybe we need this to be larger. Let's make this 500 megabytes. And okay, I don't see anything else relevant, so maybe that was not the problem. And whoops, where did the manager go? Android. Okay, so let's try starting up this other one. And while that starts, let's take another short break. And I need to grab some more water. So see you back in a minute.